Do you remember when Kanye West, one of the things that really distinctly not began, but accelerated his anti-Semitic collapse was him sending out this post, "I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people." He goes on to say, "The funny thing is, I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who ever opposes your agenda." Now, if you think I'm saying DEFCON 3 wrong, I'm not. He wrote DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. So Trump gave it a try himself. His DEFCON 3 on Jewish people post came out in preparation for the Mamdani election, saying any Jewish person that votes for Zohran Mamdani, a proven and self-professed Jew hater, self-professed, I missed that clip, is a stupid person. Think about any other politician getting away with calling thousands of Jewish people stupid. Not saying if anyone votes for, not saying I don't like Zohran Mamdani's view on X, Y, or Z, not even just saying an allegation of anti-Semitism, but saying the Jewish people themselves who support Zohran Mamdani are stupid. How would that go over with any other politician? That would be the story for weeks, no? But why? Why is it not a big story? I'll show you Zohran's response in a second. But it's because, hey, in all fairness to Trump, he goes DEFCON 3 on a lot of people.
You ought to have your heads examined. You ought to have your heads examined. If Jewish people are going to vote for Joe Biden, they have to have their head examined. Any African American or Hispanic, and you know how well I'm doing there, that votes for Kamala, you got to have your head examined. If anybody I know is Jewish and they would vote for...
If anyone I know is Jewish... I like how he says that like he doesn't know. He's not sure. If I find out that anyone I know is Jewish... and they support Kamala, they need to have their head examined.
If anybody I know is Jewish and they would vote for Kamala over me, they should have their head examined. And Jewish people that go for Biden and the Democrats, they should have their head examined. If any senior doesn't vote for Trump, we're going to have to send you to a psychiatrist to have your head examined. But if you voted for her or the Democrats, you should have your head examined. Any Jewish person that votes for her or a Democrat has to go out.
Do you need more? Do I need to keep playing this for you? They're stupid and they need to have their head examined. What a closing message. You know, I was thinking about that. If Trump and Stephen Miller, etc., if Republicans don't want Zohran Mamdani to be elected, as it seems nearly inevitable at this point, I don't know if their messaging is helping. I saw Stephen Miller say, "I am supporting Cuomo." And I was like, dude, Cuomo's not going to be happy with that. That's going to hurt Cuomo's campaign. And then Cuomo also got asked that Trump said, "I prefer Cuomo." And Cuomo was like, no. Dang it. No. And he hung up a call and left the interview. Because it's actually worse for you in New York City to have Stephen Miller and Trump campaigning for you. But here was Zohan's response.
Donald Trump just truth socialed that any Jewish person...
While you watch this, please do, if you appreciate this show, click the subscribe button. It's so simple, really. If you don't click the subscribe button, you should have your head examined.
We should have our heads examined.
...who votes for you is a, quote, stupid person. We are Jews who are proudly voting for you, proudly campaigning for you. What is your message to Jewish voters?
But I'm looking forward to being a mayor for every single Jewish voter, whether they're voting for me, whether they're voting for someone else, whether they're not voting at all. Because at the end of it, they're New Yorkers. They deserve not only protection, they deserve to be celebrated, they deserve to be cherished, and they deserve someone more than just a president who's looking to try and define what it means to be a good Jewish person in this city or in this country. It's time for us to actually listen to Jewish New Yorkers themselves, and that's the mayor that I will be.
So get out there and vote. L'chaim.
Vote L'chaim.
Trump won the election, I guess someone's going to win too, but should I take this lesson from him? From Trump? Should I just start? If you don't like this show and you're black and you're a senior and you're Jewish, you should have your head examined. Maybe, I don't know, maybe like reverse psychology is people into supporting you. I don't know. Speaking of which, I do just have to say there's one reason that New Yorkers would elect Cuomo, if I can find the clip. And that is, of course, to get more of this.
As a New Yorker, I am a Muslim. As a New Yorker, I am Jewish. As a New Yorker, I am black. I am gay. I am disabled. I am a woman seeking to control her health and her choices, because as a New Yorker, we are one community.
I mean, okay, I get it. A lot of problems with Cuomo. But does that make up for all of it? That was pretty iconic. So now we have to discuss. We're going to kind of ping pong around because it's election day. Big day. The big, highly focused on races that we're following. New Jersey of Mikey Sherrill, who seems poised to win. Governor in Virginia. A lot of other races. But again, the big headlines. Governor race in Virginia. Abigail Spanberger, definitely going to win. In California, you have the Prop 50 election for the redistricting, combating Trump's redistricting efforts, led by Newsom, but a California thing. And then Zohran Mamdani and others. And a lot of people are saying this is the first big, widely emphasized chance to have a referendum on Trump. And honestly, what's interesting about it is there's a diversity of ideologies represented within the Democratic Party. A pretty wide one between the races I just listed you and others, spans the spectrum of left of center ideologies, from much more centrist to much more left wing. And what could happen, and I think what's likely to happen, what the data indicates, is that across the board, in very different contexts of different ideologies, different types of Democrats, you'll still have a similar backlash to Trump represented electorally, which would be a really good thing. Abigail Spanberger's opponent is Winsome Earl Sears. And this might be my favorite two clips we're going to cover all day today. So in this segment, we're going to look at all the election-related stuff, and then we have other stuff. But of all of it, this is my favorite. Listen to the argument here from the Republican, Winsome Earl Sears, and the Fox host I can't even get my head around it. Makes me feel like I need to get my head examined. Trying to argue that Democrats are hypocrites because they won't support Winsome Earl Sears, the Republican nominee for governor, even though she's black. And Obama was only supported, this is the argument, because he was black. And Kamala, they told us, is the argument, we had to vote for because she was black. But then they don't want to support the Republican Winsome Earl Sears despite her being black. It's a mind bender. And the Fox host is going to be like, I just can't square how they wouldn't want to support you even though you're black. When did anyone ever say the only reasons you support Kamala or Obama was race?
And this is the president. But remember, Obama was supposed to be the president of hope and change. Whatever happened to all that? Where is the hope, Mr. President? Where is the change, President Obama? Of course, we know it's all hypocrisy. And then, of course, last year this time, he told everybody to vote for the black woman. Well,
is that how he said it? Listen, America, vote for the black woman. Because she's black. She's a woman. I feel like there was more to the argument than that, Winsome.
Everybody to vote for the black woman. Well, Charlie, here I am.
Right.
Here I am, and now he's singing a different tune. Hypocrisy all the way, but the Virginia voters are seeing through that because we are for common sense, and my opponent, Abigail Spanberger, is for nonsense.
Okay, it gets crazier, but did you hear that? She says Obama's a hypocrite because in the 2024 election, he was saying vote for the quote-unquote black woman. Never heard that leave his mouth. We sold merch during that time. And some of it was Kamala merch. None of it said vote for the black woman. Okay? And he's a hypocrite because now there's a black woman running for governor of Virginia, but she's a Republican and stands against all of the political views that Obama does, but he won't say the same thing about her that he said about Kamala. So then Charlie Hurt goes, you're so right. I just can't even square the idea that they wouldn't support you despite you being a Republican and MAGA and them really not liking Republicans or MAGA. It's a lot more about politics, as it should be, and policies than race. And I thought y'all were against the identity politics, which is kind of what they try to argue here. We're not for identity politics, but they are. So then that means that if they don't leverage it here, then that means they're hypocrites.
You know, you raise a really important point, and I really honestly do not understand it, because we did go through years of lectures about how important it was to vote for Barack Obama to be this historic first black candidate. And then afterwards, we were told that this was the greatest thing and it was going to solve all these problems. Yes. Of course, it didn't. And in fact, polls show that over the 8 years of his presidency, race relations actually deteriorated badly in this country. And then I'm
sure that was all Obama's fault. They always say that. Racial tensions got a lot tenser. And they're saying it on Fox News. What? Remind me what the story was that made Trump politically famous. I remember something racial he was doing on Fox News a lot. But I'm sure it was Obama.
Him to have an opportunity to help out the first black female governor, by the way, of a state that elected the first black governor in the United States. Explain to me what are we missing? How does this? I can't square this.
Yeah, you can't square it because it doesn't make any sense. I told you these people are for nonsense. If I have to tell you that water is wet, then what are we talking about? We don't even have a means to come to some agreement. The Democrats, as far as I see, they continue to fight the Civil War. Everything is racism. Everything is color. Everything is this issue. Well, here I am, an immigrant to this wonderful country, and I am dispelling all of those narratives that, no, there are opportunities in America if you avail yourself of them, because I'm the one whose father came to America with only $1.75.
What? What? My brain is crumbling. This is the craziest thing we've covered in a really long time. And we cover a lot of crazy stuff. You said that the Democrats are making everything about race? You just argued it's hypocritical of Obama to not support you, even though he's black. That's kind of what the argument was. And then you made up a story that Democrats everywhere were saying you have to support Kamala because she's black and no other reason. Now, emphasizing that something could be historic. Wow, so historic, first black president with Obama. And that represented progress. Or how amazing would it be if someone we also thought was better than Trump happened to break records, or not records, but set a new, do something unprecedented, whatever the phrase is, make history. It's cool, but that's not the reason why you support somebody. So then for you to number one, twist it beyond recognition and weaponize it back around and say, we're not about identity politics. You are, but because you are, you have to support. Well, we're not. It's a new age of lib, and we're not about that. So bizarre. And what was the reference to if I have to tell you water's wet? I didn't even understand how that fit in. So then Cuomo, I told you, is struggling to deal with, going back to New York, the fact that Trump said he preferred Zoran because Zoran's a communist. And Cuomo's having to navigate this thing of I am, he's wanting to say I am better, but Trump doesn't like me because I'm not with Trump, because he knows New Yorkers don't want someone who's buddy-buddy with Trump. It's uncomfortable.
The president does not support me. The president opposes Zoran Mandami. The president believes Zoran Mandami is a communist. He believes he's an existential threat. I believe he's a socialist and an existential threat, and not a dress-up socialist, right? Their school of socialism, this Democratic Socialists of America, government controls the means.
Now, to be clear, I've said it before, and I like to say just for any of our new viewers, there are plenty of reasons that I've seen, and this is kind of, there's a difference between what someone was saying back when they're just living life, being an activist or something, or talking on podcasts, and what they actually run on in a campaign. But there's plenty of clips that I've seen of Zoran saying things I perceive as wacky, like talking about private property in a certain way that was weird, or policing. A lot of his old tweets were like, what the heck are you talking about? And he is a socialist and I'm not, so he is to my left. And I think some of his more so previous statements I'll really take issue with, but even some of his campaign proposals, I'm like, oh, I don't know. But a lot of that is getting into the weeds on important stuff and missing what is happening in New York, what's really the story. And people are trying to make it about a lot of things that it's not about. And that is a deep, as is the case in the nation, profound ambition for real change and someone to actually care about affordability. And that's why I saw even a clip we might cover in this segment of Zoran being asked on MSNBC, see how quickly you can, it was a game they played, see how quickly you can take any topic I bring up back to affordability. And that's what Zoran Mamdani's been doing. Mamdani. I was going to take issue too with Cuomo saying that. Really? You're running? Yeah, you're running against the guy you still can't pronounce it. Okay. And that if we continue, if the Democratic Party goes, oh, Zoran Mamdani is too much to the left, and then you put up the most status quo, maybe we'll get 1-inch change, maybe not candidates, this cycle is going to repeat a bazillion times. And that is what Mamdani represents. And it's something he's done good on too, is taking what Trump promised and pointing out the contrast between the similarity, I should say, of the promise on affordability, but the contrast of follow through, and we haven't seen yet if Mamdani will follow through, but that he's promising to, that Trump also won in an environment where people are so fed up with the system, so fed up with a broken and rigged system, and so many politicians saying, yeah, we're going to address cost of living and affordability, and do nothing, or in Trump's case, make it a whole heck of a lot worse. And pointing out that he diagnosed on many issues incorrectly, on this one correctly, what people are fed up about, and then betrayed all the people who trusted in him. Now, we saw from bazillion miles away why you shouldn't have trusted him, and him being unqualified for a bazillion reasons. But affordability was a big thing people thought they were voting for Trump on. So I just wanted to add that caveat. And I saw an interesting interview where someone was discussing this with Zoran Mamdani, which is there is space within the left for ideological differences, even some big ones. But in a time like this, number one, you need real change agents, precision focus on the economic issues people actually care about, which Zoran Mamdani's done incredibly. And then a unity against MAGA. And if Zoran wins, as it seems like he will, there's going to be a lot of time and debates as he actually tries to execute on his proposals. And I'm sure plenty of criticisms to be had. But those sort of key notes, I think, are important to understand as we continue through this. And this was epic. David Hogg made Scott Jennings look so very silly.
He's probably going to win. I mean, it's a Democrat town, and they're going to elect a socialist to run the financial capital of the world. I mean, you gave him $300,000. That's interesting. That's probably the only 309 Islamo-Marxist grant that he got.
Islamo-Marxist? Wow.
I saw Linda Sarsour today bragging about all the...
It's almost as good as Trans Tifa.
Money that's coming from all over the world. So
for their elections in New York.
Look,
and honestly, I think part of the reason he's so powerful is because people are tired of being lectured by men with Rolexes on CNN about affordability in this country. That's the real reason he is resonating.
Oh, 911.
Because when you own as many libs as I do, you gotta put a place to put them all.
Well, then where are they gonna put you, Scotty boy? Look at that Rolex, too. That's a great jab. That's just a great jab. Yeah, zoom in on that. Going, I think a part of what's fueling Mamdani's success is people in Rolexes on bougie platforms telling them what they should feel. Whoa. Whew. He just got hogged. Excuse me. Just got a little taste of the hog. Now I didn't realize what that was going to sound like. That's not what I didn't mean that. I didn't mean it that way. I meant it the other way, like a
The biggest load that we've seen.
No, not that way, Trump. No, not that way. Not that way, Cole. I don't appreciate that. Not that way. Really not that way. Trump's also ranting. So many fake polls are being shown by the radical left media, all slanted heavily toward Democrats and far left wing. Well, let's see. Today we get to see no polls, just, well, the polls, the real voting. People actually making their voices heard. I think it's going to be a good night. That's my prediction. And again, it's interesting. I mean, a lot of ideological diversity across the different races. And I think if there's, despite where you place on the left spectrum, if there's clear, concise victories across the country, including on Prop 50, that will be a lot about the individual races, as I just explained, with affordability in New York City and speaking to actual systemic change and all that. And also a unified front against Trump, despite inner party differences. On Trump ranting about the polls, this sums it up.
By the way, you have a poll coming out. Unfortunately, I want to know what it is. They do that straw poll, right? Now, if it's bad, I say it's fake. If it's good, I say that's the most accurate poll perhaps ever taken.
That's what he's doing. He's admitted it before. He just doesn't like that he's losing a lot of his popularity. This was the Cuomo moment. It's been a rough campaign. It's been a really rough campaign. He gets asked about Trump endorsing him, and let's be charitable and say his internet went out.
Your boy was just on 60 Minutes, Cuomo, saying that you're his guy.
No.
Trump said you're his candidate. If he had to pick a bad Democrat or what did he say? Or a communist. Or a communist, he's picking you.
Hello?
I think that they cut him off. I think he had to rap.
Andrew, did you hop off the call? I didn't want to say, because they brought up the communist thing, another little note I wanted to add on this more generally is, I've said this with Bernie too, actual socialism would be a disaster, just so everyone understands. Being very progressive, left-wing, liberal shouldn't automatically make you go, oh, so socialism. And incredible changes to our system should be done and will be done, and expansions of the social safety net, and fundamentally changing how we harness the wealth and address income inequality. All that can happen within a framework that is not socialist. So that is why it bothers me when candidates like Mamdani, and Bernie did it too, don't actually run on socialist proposals. Like, it's not like they're saying we're going to turn New York into some socialist utopia, but describe themselves as a democratic socialist. Now, part of it is when people want something so different, a different label like that, however the fullest interpretation of that would look, feels exciting. And I get that. But Bernie ran, and it was on not socialism, even though he calls himself that. Zoran, I think the same thing. My advice would be throw those policy proposals out, go hard in the paint on them, advocate for the changes you want. Grabbing onto that label confuses me when that's not actually what you're running on, and then it sets them up perfectly to say stuff like that, but they're going to say it anyways. I understand that. as well. Then more from Cuomo.
We heard Donald Trump yesterday. He said if Mamdani wins, he's going to cut off funding to New York. He calls him a communist. He'll send the National Guard. We need a mayor who can stand up to Donald Trump, who can get the funding that New York deserves, who can make sure the National Guard does not come to New York, because we don't need.
Do you remember when there was the Cuomo-sexual trend? It's wild how times have changed. Y'all don't remember that during COVID. There was something called being a Cuomo-sexual. He had a little spark, a little moment of popularity. And then I think he thought he would be able to come back and be like, hey, you remember? But a lot happened after that, Andrew. And that to put him up to, we're not even talking about the Republican. There is a Republican running, by the way. We'll get to him in a second. But it set up Zohran Mamdani perfectly, because Cuomo is such the epitome of the status quo and the establishment. And that's what Zohran branded himself as running against. And then it ends up being his chief competitor's Cuomo. It's too perfect. It's too perfect for his own campaign. This was what I referenced with everything coming back to affordability, which should be a huge lesson. If you're a Democrat and you have major issues with Mamdani and you feel like that makes it justified to ignore what he's doing, you should have had, oh my gosh. You should have your head examined. There we go. Try to. Because I have seen over the last few years doing this job so many Democratic campaigns and all these different races, and few of them are able to fixate on an issue that people genuinely care about this much. And that's what people want.
James Carville was here.
Okay.
And he's been a little bit more of, I think he would call himself a centrist.
Okay.
He said Zohran Mamdani is more on message than any candidate he's ever worked with. And he said, hands down, that's a positive trait.
Very kind of him.
So here's the test.
Oh, God.
How quickly can you go from this topic back to affordability?
Okay.
Halloween.
Here's the thing. You're seeing candy prices shoot up across New York City. And it's part of the fact that we're the most expensive city in the United States of America. We got to take a look at that.
The movie Godfather.
There are too many people who think that the only way they could afford to live in New York City is if their father already lived here. And the fact of the matter is you should be able to afford your own apartment and not just have to pray to God to get there.
Incredible.
Okay, so you get it. That just emphasizing the point that I made. Then you have moments like this in the final hours of the campaign.
Hakeem Jeffries was asked this morning if you're the future of the Democratic Party. He said no.
Good to know.
Do you have a response?
No, I'm focused on the next 2 days.
Do you think you're the future of the Democratic Party?
I don't dare predict the future. That's why I'm out here canvassing to deal with my anxiety to get through the tape of the future of 9 p.m. on Tuesday.
Platform precision and authenticity. The first clip showed you that on affordability. The second one, authenticity. Good to know. Okay, cool. And it's weird how that seems so normal and easy, but goodness gracious, it's not. It's not for a lot of politicians. It's something they have to be trained into. Okay, so like people like when I say hello. Oh, that's interesting. And then if you use their name back at them, oh, that's so interesting, Jaden. Oh, wow, Jaden, that's so good to know. Oh, Jaden, you look so great today, right? That was hypothetical. I don't really know. I don't know about that. Okay. And they have to be trained into it. And just being a person who can interact normally, crazy how much of an asset that is. Then you, of course, have Jay Jones running in Virginia for Attorney General. Jay Jones had some issues, as we talked about with those texts. I'm not going to go, oh, I've moved past that. I haven't. I found those abhorrent. But this is slander. Video shows Virginia Democratic AG candidate Jay Jones seemingly trying to kick a dog. And I went, oh no. First the texts, now he's kicking dogs. And then I watched it and he didn't kick the dog at all.
May he rest. May he rest. And may he wake up tonight when you get this win. Goodbye, Red. Say bye-bye.
See you soon.
He did like a, hey, Bubba, right? He wasn't trying to club the dog. Okay, so we're deciphering fact from fiction. This is what we do. Important stuff. Then I always almost say Jojo Sliwa. Curtis Sliwa. Not Jojo Sliwa. I know her name's Sliwa, but as I always combine them. Curtis Sliwa is the Republican candidate. We haven't heard too much about him, but he is technically running. If he wins, I saw in the betting markets, people can make a lot of money, but he won't win. So that's why it's so cheap to buy him. What? And watch one of his final interviews.
If Mamdani is elected and he doesn't perform the job the way that Andrew Cuomo, the way that President Trump, the way that others are warning, if he does run the city as a communist, are you going to have any regrets?
Why should I have regrets? I trust people. People are going to make the choice. I'll live with the choice. I'd like them to choose me, but if, perchance, I lose on November 4th, I will improve, not move. I will lead the opposition. I will organize against any of the initiatives that are not in the best interests of people. I will not flee like Andrew Cuomo told his billionaire friends in the Hamptons. Oh, if Zorhan wins, I flee. No, I stay, I fight, not in a physical sense, but in what politics is all about.
I love how much the CNN host is amused by him. So, because New York is so blue, now the Republicans just put up people like him. It's just sort of like, hey, we need someone to technically be on the ballot. Do you want to do it? And then Trump gets asked, oh, do you support the Republican? Like normally you would support the Republican. And Trump's like, I feel like he wants to fill the mayor's mansion with a bunch of cats. He seems weird. I don't know. But he did drop this banger.
Eric Adams is damaged goods. Every day, a new case of corruption in the police department. They believe he's corrupt. Andrew Cuomo is a creep, slapping fannies and killing grannies. Everybody likes Curtis Sliwa. My favorable ratings are the highest.
Whoa! Curtis! Goodness gracious. So Curtis, some people who don't want Mamdani to win want Curtis to drop out so that Cuomo can get all of the Republican support and some of the Democratic vote and some of the independent, right? So that's why Curtis was being asked, will you regret not lining up with Cuomo? And so his presence and bangers like that serve to kind of help Zohran. And so I think he's saying no, because he might win. He has to say and he might win. And that is going to hurt Cuomo. I think it'll also hurt Cuomo that Stephen Miller is out endorsing him.
As far as New York is concerned, as you've talked about, as we've said, unfortunately, the anti-Mamdani vote is being split between Cuomo and Sliwa. And President Trump tonight put out a statement being clear that if you vote for Sliwa, who's polling at about a third of where Cuomo is, you're just throwing your vote away. The anti-Mamdani vote, which is really the pro-New York City vote, the pro-America vote, needs to unite behind the leading candidate, and that's Andrew Cuomo.
Cuomo hung up, it seems, when he got asked about Trump supporting him. I'd love to see his reaction to Stephen Miller supporting him.
There's something fucked up about that motherfucker.
Thank you, Hunter. Then he said this in the same interview.
We are dealing with a party that is so extreme that considers its opponents to be its mortal enemies, that dehumanizes its opposition.
Right. Who would ever consider just someone you have a political difference, the other political party, mortal enemies? Who would dehumanize them? What's this, Jaden? Stephen Miller, the president's Homeland Security advisor, said the Democratic Party does not fight for, care about, or represent American citizens. It's an entity devoted exclusively to the defense of hardened criminals, gangbangers, and illegal alien killers and terrorists. The Democratic Party is not a political party. It's a domestic extremist organization. Weird. That seems enemy language. Now, it's not untrue that Democrats are using aggressive language against Republicans or Trump specifically. Nancy Pelosi is in her I'm about to retire, I don't give to era. And I gotta say, I'm kind of loving it. Nancy Pelosi unhinged is a little bit fun. Watch this.
It's just a vile creature.
She's talking about Trump.
It's just a vile creature. The worst thing on the face of the earth. But anyway.
You think he's the worst thing on the face of the earth?
I do, yeah. I do.
Why is that?
Because he's the president of the United States and he does not honor the Constitution of the United States. In fact, he's turned the Supreme Court into a rogue court. He's abolished the House of Representatives. He's chilled.
Something about creature it hits so hard. Because I've said that's vile. I've never described, and I want it because I'm a softie, you know, libby lib boy. But if I ever need to really insult someone, instead of saying you're a vile person, I'm going to say you're a vile creature. Imagine being an argument, you know, you're a vile person. And instead going, you know, you're the most vile creature on the face of the earth. Nancy! Wow. This was shortly after this.
Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
The American people want...
Where was this? When she was the Speaker of the House. I really wish this is what we had when she was the Speaker of the House. You can take that down, Jaden. That's for later, you'll see. I'm going to do a little Seth Meyers something in a second. But first, all this campaign talk, it gets you thinking. We got an election tonight. Big change could happen. Big races taking place. Governors, mayors, Prop 50, attorneys general. It makes you think. Pretty soon, we're going to be talking about 2028. And Fox News is thinking, you know who could run for president in the Democratic Party? John Fetterman. John Fetterman, who is just Republican now, I guess. Not really, but he was just talking about how gracious Trump was when they were meeting and having McDonald's together.
Or would you entertain the possibility of running against perhaps Gavin Newsom for the nomination of the Democratic Party for president?
2028 is a long time. It's far away. I mean, who knows what's going to happen?
You're right. I don't know. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to be open with you all. I might have gotten a little bit into betting a little bit. Like, I just did it a couple times and it's not a problem. Just a little bit. And that's all that needs to be said. And much like J.B. Pritzker, I accidentally won $1 million. No. But if anyone wants to make this betting option, I will put every dollar I have, because he's right, we don't know much. You can't know anything with certainty. I will put every dollar to my name and dollars that aren't yet. I'll steal from Colin Jaden's pockets. And I'll put it all on the bet that John Fetterman will not be the Democratic nominee. Everything. That I know for sure. I don't know who the nominee will be, but I know it won't be him. Look at this. He's on Fox like every 2 seconds now. Just Trump was so gracious. So gracious.
Well, you've actually been willing to sit down and talk with President Trump. In fact, you had dinner with President Trump. If you don't mind, tell me how was your dinner and were you surprised at the end of it?
Yeah, and I think this was in January, but before he actually took office. But I think that experience, I would use the same words that my friend Bill Maher uses: gracious, and just absolutely, it was pleasant, and it wasn't a show or anything. It was just like a conversation, and we could find things that we might agree on, and I thought it was a good conversation. And honestly, why wouldn't the senator of the state that carried him in the election, and I know plenty of people that voted too. Hey, he invited. Absolutely. It's not about bending a knee. It's about having a conversation with the president, and I think that's entirely appropriate. And as a senator, I'm not sure why anyone would find that controversial. We have to work.
If you ever make Laura Trump this proud, look at how proud she is. So happy. You messed up, John. You messed up. Now, it's not that you met with him. If I got an invite to go to Mar-a-Lago and sit with Trump and eat McDonald's, yeah, I would. First of all, McDonald's, however bad it is delicious.
McDonald's cheeseburger.
I never have it, except for when I do. And except for when I'm betting. And I just have like one day a year where I partake in all the vices. And I just get it all out my system. And I eat Trump's order. 2 Filet-O-Fishes, 6 Big Macs, a couple milkshakes, and then just put a bunch of money down on a game. But it's not that you had it, because if I had it, I would do it for sure if they invited me, and then I would use that as an opportunity to actually confront him. And I could do it in a way that's not like screaming, but I would explain to him all the things that are bad that he's doing. And then I would come out of it, and I would say, this is the conversation he had no real interest in hearing, whatever the thing that played out was. But all these people going and not bringing up anything substantive from my guesstimation, because if you actually did go, hey, I know that he said this was before, but just to use the example of some other people who have recently met with him, hey, you just ripped away healthcare for millions of people. Hey, you're not doing food assistance, even though the court is demanding that you should. Hey, mass people are just grabbing up people regardless of their immigration status and illegally detaining them. Hey, you're striking people in the ocean without providing any information to Congress and any evidence, and you're doing extrajudicial killings with someone we're not at war with. Hey, why are you explain what you think a tariff is? What is a tariff? That would be my first question. I'd sit down, I'd get my Big Mac and my other Big Mac and my other Big Mac, and I would say, what's a tariff?
I don't even know.
And he would probably say that. But to come out of it and be like, my takeaway was he was a nice guy. Okay, well then you wasted a very rare chance you have. Very few people get to sit there. You got to, and you wasted it just so you can come out and tell us he's nice. I don't care if he's nice to you personally. Of course, if you're kissing his ass, you'll be nice. But all the damage he's doing, you don't seem to recognize. That's the problem. And you kind of whitewash what he's doing by emphasizing that he gave you a nice omelet or something.